In this episode, I have a guest. Drew and I are going to talk about knockoffs
Pen waffling
and a Goulet Pens app. Well, hey everybody, this is episode number 136 of Goulet Q&A. I can't believe it's been that many. Can you?
Oh, that feels like it was just yesterday that I started doing these.
I know, gosh, just time goes. I don't know what happens. Everybody, this is Drew Brown.
Hi.
He is our most tenured Goulet Pens team member.
Damn.
Aside from Rachel and myself.
Right.
And for those of you who don't know, Drew and I actually grew up together. I think we met in the 3rd grade.
Something like that.
Yeah, way back before we really knew what we were doing. Neither of us grew up with pens, so it has been kind of a discovery process for the two of us.
It has indeed.
But Drew was here back in the garage days, as we like to call it.
The dark ages.
He's seen some stuff over the years. And literally, we were shooting a video. We were preparing a FlexNib video that's going to be coming out fairly soon.
Hopefully it's cool.
Yes, it's going to be amazing.
Nice.
And we just got to bantering, and we were like, you know what? We should do more videos together. And I think you threw out, and you were like, yeah, maybe I'd be willing to do a Q&A. And I was like,
heck yeah.
How about tomorrow?
Okay.
So Drew's game.
Here I am. Currently
Yep.
Gaming.
So Drew will be joining me here today for the Q&A. Not like answering like Drew specific questions. I didn't solicit any Drew specific questions,
No,
but
I'm here.
he's here to just banter and add some flavor.
I'll do my thing.
Thought it would be nice to get a little break from me, and maybe I can cover up my coughing with the Drew banter.
I'll cough when you cough, so they won't notice.
They'll cancel each other out.
Who could it be? Yeah, they won't even know.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the questions, just covering some stuff that we've had going on this past week, we have launched the American Aristocracy ink from Noodlers. Which
That's an interesting one.
It has been interesting. We got to discover when we received that ink that it's got some color variation, intentional color variation from bottle to bottle. So we've tried to disclaim that across our website as accurately as possible. But that's kind of the whole storyline of the ink is that the color fluctuates a little bit.
Yeah. So this is a Noodler's ink that's actually supposed to be different depending on which bottle you buy.
And we originally thought that it was going to be just a single batch, but as it turns out, Nathan's going to be making more of it. So we thought originally like it was only a one-time deal, so we were greedy and we just gobbled all of it up. But so we kind of sort of have an exclusive, not really, but it's kind of like we have a first batch exclusive here. So and then it's going to be available, through all other retailers.
Check it out. You'll see 3 different colors on the product page if you want to check it out.
But we can't take any color requests, unfortunately, because
we don't
every
know.
bottle's different.
We have no clue.
Yeah, so that's exciting. We also launched the Delta journals, which I was gonna grab one and show it. Dang it, I forgot to do that last week too. But
we have them.
we do have them.
He's not lying.
They're here now.
They're
Last
here.
time they were coming, and now they're actually here.
I've seen them. They're here.
But it's a nice pen.
They look good.
It's a really good pen, especially for a sub $150 pen.
Yeah.
It does have a stainless steel nib, so it's a little on the upper range for a stainless steel.
Right.
But
not as upper as it used to be, because it used to come with one of those Delta Fusion nibs.
Right. And it was more like $300, I think.
This is much more reasonable. And it's got a nice matte finish on the acrylic. I think they look super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not very often you see a matte acrylic pen.
No, it's pretty rare, actually. So, in fact, one of the only ones that we had was a Delta Unica that we recently did the matte black, which was an exclusive to us. This one's not an exclusive, but the matte thing really worked for the black one. So I think they're trying it for this one too. So
pretty cool.
Really kind of cool. So should see how that goes. And then we're going to be coming out. No, sorry, we also just launched the Pelican M205 Aquamarine.
And there it is.
And it's a little weird because we're recording this on Wednesday. We haven't actually launched it yet as of this recording, but by the time this goes out on Friday, we will have released it. So this is the newest limited edition. Well, it's not numbered. I don't know if technically it's a limited edition, but it's a seasonal limited run, whatever you want to call it.
That's a weird definition.
But it's kind of like the Amethyst was before.
Right.
So it's going to be here for a little bit, and then it's going to be gone. And the thing that struck me about this, it's a little darker than I think we originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's one of those. Some of these translucent pens, and that goes with a lot of ones we have. You light them heavily, and they look just translucent, super translucent. And then you get them in under normal lighting conditions, and they look a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, and it's a little different too because the last one that came out was that blue one, and that one was really translucent.
That was a lighter
really
blue.
Clear. It was a lighter
Yeah.
blue. This one is a little darker, a little cloudier, so it's not like a super crisp translucence. So it's a lot more like the amethyst one. The amethyst had kind of a hazy, kind of smoky translucence to it. That's what this one is like too.
Yeah.
So those are the two things that kind of struck me when I took it out. But otherwise, it's a great pen, piston filler, stainless steel nib, and the thing that I like about basically all the Pelican pens is that the nib unit just pulls out really easy. So for cleaning and stuff like that, it's super easy. So really popular format.
Those pistons are always super smooth too.
Really
Pelican
good.
has like some of the smoothest operating pistons
They
I've
know
ever
what they're
used.
doing.
Yeah, they do.
They know how to make a pen.
Yeah.
So we got those out now, so that's pretty exciting. And the other big thing that we're going to have coming next week, I believe, is going to be the Nemosine Singularity, which I mentioned last week, went into a lot of detail. I'm not going to do it as much. I recorded a video on that. That's going to be coming out with the launch of the pen. So
Pretty
excited
awesome.
about that. Yeah, it's a really cool pen. $20. Pretty good deal.
You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's a German-made nib, $20.
Yeah.
A wide variety of colors.
Yeah,
This is gonna be a winner.
It's got a pretty solid reputation too.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that we're able to bring out some like less expensive pens after we've had some crazy ones like the Visconti watermark and the you know, Wild West and stuff like that. Where that's not like what we're trying to focus on all the time. It's we really want to get new people into the hobby, and I think this is going to be a great pen for that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. And then we're going to have some other exciting stuff that's coming up. For me personally, Joseph is starting the first grade next week. So I don't know what it is about first grade. Like he started kindergarten. That was kind of a big deal, I guess. It definitely was a big deal. Especially because he goes to the same elementary school that Drew and I went to together.
I cannot believe that.
And in fact, the teacher that I had in kindergarten was still a substitute teacher there. So I got to meet her, and I was just like, this is wigging me out. But yeah, so I don't know what it is about first grade. I guess because it's like not, it's called like a grade. Like now that he's in a grade, I feel like he's really in school.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no nap time or anything like that, you know, like there was when he started out in kindergarten.
We're going to start nap time here, right?
Well, you get lunchtime. You can use it for whatever personal means you want. Should I get like the fold-out mats? You know what I mean?
They still have those. I saw them at Target.
I know. But I had to buy one for Joseph last year.
Really?
Actually, funny story.
Is Ellie going to get
totally
the same
not
one?
talking about this is going to go like 2 hours.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ellie's definitely going to get that one too. No, so there was apparently some longshoreman strike last year where
How does this have anything to do with nap time mats?
because the nap time mats, which apparently there's like this one company that makes all of these like kindergarten nap time mats, that it was like in the containers that was like on the ship at this longshoreman strike. So like last summer we were trying to buy this nap time mat for our kid, and this longshoreman strike was keeping us from being able to do that. So we didn't get to buy him a nap mat until like the second or third week of school started. It was pretty weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how we found that out. The internet just tells you everything these days. But anyway.
We're already learning things, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Exactly.
The information is just...
that you never think you would need to know. Now you know.
Aren't you lucky?
September is going to be pretty busy for us. We got a ton of new products that are coming out. Just a crud load of them. Yeah,
Boom,
it's going to be awesome. Some notable ones. I talked about a lot of them last week, but this week we got the. This coming month we have the Aurora Optima, which is going to be coming out soon. So they lowered the price on that one by like $300.
I'm excited about that one.
It's a really nice pen. A lot of packed features and stuff. We'll have a video on that. The Vanishing Point Limited Edition, which is that guilloche pattern with
Always
the black.
fun.
Yeah, it was a good one. We'll have that one coming soon. Pilot Kakuno as well. Another lower price pen with a smiley face, winky faced nib is really adorable. I like that a lot. So we'll have a bunch of other stuff too. Those are just some of the top of mind ones that I have, and I feel like we should get into the questions. Otherwise, we are just going to talk all day.
That's why we're here.
So let's do it. All right. So
and also the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a two-part. It's a question and answer.
That's good point, Drew.
Hey,
See, you're
that's
already
why I'm
adding value here. This first question is from Adam Marcucci on YouTube. Says, are you aware of any fountain pens which are made from turned metal and are not converter or cartridge design? I'm specifically looking for something which is a little less than the $600 Lamy 2000 Special Edition. And I've always loved the way metals such as copper, brass, titanium, etc. wear, but I prefer integrated filling systems. I had to pretty much rack my brain to think of what pens would fit into this criteria. I literally could not find a single one that met all these criteria, with the exception of the Lamy 2000 stainless steel.
That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah. You don't have anything Anything popping out at you?
No, and then the Lamy 2000. I mean, that's not a easily accessible pen either. That's
No, I'm talking about the stainless steel one.
Yeah.
But it's $300.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper than the special edition.
That's true.
But even still, that's literally the only one that I can find that meets that criteria.
I'm just picturing a stainless steel piston knob. I'm trying to think, is there another one I've turned other than the Lamy 2000? I cannot think of one.
So I did a little bit of research. It appears like Pelican and Montblanc and Omos have all made precious metal like sterling silver overlay pens. And see, I think that's the challenge is, when you're talking about metal, for an integrated filling system like a piston or vacuum or something like that, the ink makes contact with the walls of the pen. So it has to be something that's very ink resistant.
Yeah, you have to have a lining, or something in there, and that's
that works well for overlays. Like I'm thinking like a Visconti watermark is a very obvious one because the overlay is built into the design of the pen.
Right.
So it's a resin pen with a sterling silver overlay. But that's a $1,600 pen. It's a very expensive one, and typically because of the process that's required in manufacturing things with that amount of complexity, you're going to be really expensive. So there's really nothing that I can think of at all that is copper, brass, or titanium that has a piston in it.
Email your senator, get it made.
Yeah. That's what you're going to have to do.
I don't know. Shout it from the rooftops.
The other ones get it done, yeah. The one thing that I was kind of able to find that would have some potential possibly is the TWSBI 850. Do you remember reading about that a couple of years ago?
No.
You don't even remember that? Okay.
Was this something they posted on Facebook? Or?
No, this was 4 years ago. It was like a prototype that was in development.
Yes, I do.
It's like an all metal.
Yes.
And it has an ink window and a piston.
I do remember that because it reminded me of that Schrade tactical pen that we saw way back when.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the TWSBI 850 is a prototype that we haven't even heard anything about in at least a year. I asked Rachel about it, and she's got a steel trap memory, and she was like, yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't even know if it's going to ever make it to production stage. I think they made 100 pens as a test batch or something, but my guess is they were not able to get it to the price that they needed to sell it what they want.
That's just kind of what you just said,
Yeah, so it's a very difficult thing. So about the only thing that I can think that would work as even kind of a workaround, if you don't want a cartridge converter specifically, would be an eyedropper. But even then, you can really only use stainless steel or maybe titanium. So I was thinking if you got a stainless steel or a titanium tactile turn pen, if you converted that to an eyedropper, that would be about the only alternative. But I don't really know what the advantage of doing that over a cartridge converter would be. Slightly higher ink capacity.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's kind of it. So sorry, a bit of a rainy cloud question there, but yeah, that's going to be your only bet that I can think of. But if you know of any other ones, please let me know.
Yeah,
I did some
I'd like
research and stuff. I did some research on Fountain Pen Network, and everybody was like, yeah, these things just don't exist.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right, this next one is from Kong Urous on YouTube. What is special about Ebonite that makes it desirable for using it in a nib feed? Why don't you take this one a little bit, Drew? I feel like you mess around with nibs quite a bit.
I mean, for one, it's almost exciting because you don't see it as much anymore. So just mentioning an Ebonite feed in something kind of gets you excited.
It's special, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of the way things used to be. It's and a lot of people feel like the vintage pen is kind of like the gold standard in many ways. So hearing that come back is always kind of like, all right, they're doing it right. They're putting Ebonite in there.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's semi-porous. What's a better word for that?
Hygroscopic would be the scientific word.
That's why he's got this down.
That's why I get paid the big bucks here. Yeah.
So it does, facilitate the ink flow a little bit better, being semi-porous like that.
Yeah.
And as you probably know, it's a hard rubber. It's not a plastic. So that in itself brings about several different physical elements that you can't do with plastic, like the ability to heat set. It has a memory. If you heat it up, you can literally bend it to almost a 90-degree angle. Let it cool. It feels rock hard, and you heat it up again, and it, gets straightened out again.
Yeah.
Which is really cool for adjusting the space in between the nib and the feed, making sure that the nib's not too far apart from the feed. You can just kind of get the feed to exactly where it wants to be.
Yeah, it's a lot more workable material.
Definitely.
It's kind of like, I guess, working with wood or something, because it's more of a natural material.
Yeah.
It's easier to, shape and carve and stuff like that.
Yeah, so carving, and if you've ever tried to carve a feed, like if you bought a Noodler's pen, some of the instructions, Nathan actually says, hey, open up the channels a little bit. You can get a razor blade and kind of go to town in there, but you could also, if you have a Dremel or something with a very, very thin bit, you can just, you can actually carve it out with an electrical tool. If you did that with a plastic one.
Do at your own risk, of course, by the way.
But as far as making it, like you'll melt a plastic feed. That thing's not going to hold up at all.
And you can like use an X-Acto knife and try to open up the feed channel on a plastic feed, but it's usually doesn't go well.
No,
I haven't heard of a lot of success doing that.
Ebonite has a habit in like you can knock out fins too. It's a little more brittle, so you can kind of like just kind of pop them out. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, so really, I think to summarize it all, a lot of the benefit is just ink flow. It's just all around better, more consistent ink flow. That's a lot of the benefit of doing it, but you don't see it a lot on pens these days because it's a more expensive material.
You know what I usually say?
Okay.
I say it's kind of like a cast iron skillet. Because cast iron skillet, you kind of don't really clean that much, and like the more it gets used, it just kind of things work better with it.
Okay.
Because cast iron's kind of slightly porous as well. It builds up that nice.
There you go.
I don't know.
That's a pretty good
That's
equivalent,
okay.
yeah. And like a cast iron skillet, like they don't make it as more. It's more expensive, and it's got other things, but
it's the cast iron skillet of fountain pen feeds.
I bet that's the first time that metaphor has ever been used. So
nailed it.
Good job, Drew. This is the extra special sauce you're getting on the Drew flavored Q&A here. Just a shout out to a couple of pens that we know have Ebonite feeds.
Right.
The Noodler's ones, like Drew mentioned. So all the Noodler's pens have Ebonite feeds. Nathan feels really strongly about that. Also, the Aurora Optima that we're going to be coming out with soon has an Ebonite feed, which is a red Ebonite feed too, which is also kind of cool. Nice little aesthetic thing there. And then Omos, which is no longer around, but we used to carry Omos. They had Ebonite feeds too. That was a huge plus of having those. Other than that, there's some pens here and there, but I can't think of anything that's like
reliably
super
Ebonite.
Like top of mind is Ebonite. Yeah. So that should give you everything you need to know about Ebonite feeds. This next question is from Brian T. on Facebook. Great name, Brian, spelled the right way. All right, I purchased a TWSBI VAC 700. I just offended a lot of Brians. Because it made the most sense for traveling on an airplane, as you can seal the flow, as Drew will demonstrate here, by screwing the plunger down. So it's got a piston
Well, I'm not actually going to
seal
demonstrate because I already pulled this thing out. But
okay, well, there you go.
You see, this thing plugs it up right there, so no ink is actually going into the feed.
There you go. So what Brian's asking about here is saying, if I'm not going to be traveling with a pen and using it just at my desk, can I just leave that plunger unscrewed and just leave it sitting there like that?
Yes.
That's a very reasonable question. Yeah, but absolutely.
It's important to note that it's got two O-rings here, and it's that top one that actually is the business end of what we're talking about.
Right.
That's that top one that seals off that section.
Absolutely. So that's what does it. It seals up that whole ink chamber. You can still write with it for a little bit because it's got ink that's in the feed of the pen, so it'll last for a few pages, but eventually it's going to dry up. So that's why you have to open up the back. However, there's a couple of workarounds. You can leave that thing unscrewed on the back all the time, or if you're not traveling that much and you want to primarily use it as a desk pen or something like that, you can actually remove that little, the smaller rubber seal right on the end there. You got to hang on to it so you don't lose it or something like that. But
I have no idea where you would get a new one of these.
I don't know either. It's not a standard size thing you find at like Home Depot or whatever.
It's kind of pyramid shaped.
Yeah. But if you can hang on to that and not lose it, then you can keep it screwed all the way down and ink will flow through it just fine, and you don't have to worry about it. So depending on how you use it, you have those options. And they supply a wrench with the pen too, so you can easily disassemble it, pop it off with just your fingers and stuff like that. It's very easy to do. But yeah, you don't have to sweat it too much. You can leave that thing unscrewed. If that works for you, it's not going to hurt the pen. I know in your question you asked, like, would it help the seal last longer? Maybe, because it's a rubber seal, and eventually, if you have, rubber pressure on the seal, it could, maybe not have it last as long. But I wouldn't be actively concerned about that as much, more than just the functional use of the pen. So there you go. All right, this question's from Melanie M on Facebook. And Melanie asks, can you help me choose between a Bronze Age and a Dark Age Homo sapiens? I keep waffling. Please help me
waffling.
Please help me stop the waffle.
Stop the waffle.
Stop the waffle.
See, I don't know which is better hashtag, pen waffling or stop the waffle.
Stop the waffle. I think stop the waffle.
See, I don't want to stop the waffle. That makes me feel like I'm not going to get to eat the waffle.
That's true.
I'm like, bring on the waffle.
That makes you sound like anti-waffle. But you are not anti-waffle.
I am not.
You are very much pro-waffle, as am I. Waffle or pancake is the question.
We've had this discussion.
We've had this. This is a heated debate. A Goulet waffle or pancake. Where do you stand on
Waffle
that?
is superior.
Really?
Yes.
See, I'm all about the pancake because I like to have my pancakes infused with all kinds of toppings and stuff.
I like that
Waffles
too.
are great for adding stuff on top.
It is.
But then I like even butter distribution as well.
There ain't no such thing as chicken and pancakes.
Well, that's true. That's true. Good point there, Drew. You got me there.
They're both delicious.
The chicken and waffles definitely is a strong selling point.
But
on
in
that.
this case, as far as stopping the waffle goes,
what we're really talking about is helping to make a decision.
both these pens are freaking awesome.
They're both great, and it's the same pen, really. It's just a matter
Oh, yeah.
of the trim color that's different. You're really not going to make a bad choice either way. This one I'm pulling out, it's my Bronze Age. It's my personal pen. I got it before the Dark Age came out. So I personally was not quite in this conundrum
What would
when
you have
looking
done?
for my
What
personal
would you have
pen.
done if they were both out?
That's what I'm wondering right now.
Let's
is
find
I don't
out.
know what I would have done if I had to do that. Like if I was in Melanie's shoes here, I would probably be equally waffling.
I don't envy you, Melanie. That's a difficult
No.
choice.
Well, actually, I mean, she's in a pretty good spot. If she's
That's true.
shopping
That's
for
true.
a pen,
This
probably a lot of people envy her right now.
This could be her
anyway,
Grail pen. So I guess, Melanie, I'm thrilled for you.
Yes, so congratulations on that. But
Yeah.
for me, I personally like the Bronze Age better. I love the Dark Age, don't get me wrong. But the Bronze, to me, I like it a little better just because I like the earthiness of it.
Yeah, and it's
You
actual
know?
bronze too.
It is, yeah.
Like the
So it,
the,
like,
the
tarnishes
blacked
a bit
out
and
the
stuff.
blacked out color is pretty cool, but it is
is.
just steel underneath.
Yeah.
Which is still nice. But this is an actual it's bronze. It's legit bronze.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. So, and I've always been a big fan of two-tone, like really drastic two-tone colors.
Which you get with this.
Which is you get with this. The stealth out, blacked out thing is also very sweet. So really, you could go either way. And the blacked out nib and everything looks pretty. It looks pretty awesome.
Gorgeous.
So it's a total toss-up. I probably maybe just a little bit biased because I feel like if I was really like wanting to act on my desire for a Dark Age, I would then have to get a Dark Age as well.
Yeah, maybe we should
I'm
stop
just
talking
like,
about this
I need
before
to,
we convince you to get one.
I know. So I'm gonna say Bronze Age gets my vote.
I would go with bronze as
Yeah,
well.
the Bronze is a better seller.
It's close.
It's a better seller overall than the Dark Age as well, so that kind of tends to be a little more popular. I don't know if that is a factor at all, but to me, what I think it boils down to is, do you want kind of that two-tone, maybe a little bit rustic, earthy look to it with the bronze, or do you want like more of the flat, clean look that you get with the black? Depending on what's more your flavor, that's really what's going to be the deciding factor for you. And then if all else fails, flip a coin, because you can't go wrong either way. That's what I would say. All right, let's talk a little bit about ink. We have one ink question this week.
All right.
And then a whole crud of business questions, so we'll get into that. Ooh. All right, for ink, this is from Tiffany Z on Facebook. Hey there, I'm looking to send out bottles of Sailor ink to a few people in the continental U.S. And never having sent bottles before, I'm pretty nervous about it. I've read that any potential...
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, we know a thing or two about that. I thought it'd be pertinent to ask. I've read that any potential liquid must be presented to a postal service employee for acceptance. Is this true, and how do you manage this? Well, Drew, you have a little experience with this. Drew used to be our fulfillment manager back in the day.
We do this every day, and there are no problems. I found that I sometimes do get asked that question when I go to the post office. Every now and then we've had a crazy circumstance where I've actually had to run to a post office to ship a package, and then they ask if there are any hazardous liquids.
Yeah.
In which case I say no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider ink to be hazardous, and then they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. We ship a lot of ink.
We do.
We never have a problem with it being flagged by the post office or anything like that. We obviously have a very close relationship with our local post office here because they very much know who we are. And no, I've specifically asked them at the post office before, hey, is ink a problem? And it's not a problem at all.
No.
As long as it doesn't leak, and as long as it's not something hazardous or flammable, you wouldn't want to ship whatever, phosphoric acid or something,
right?
And
as of the recording of this video,
like
Nathan at Noodlers has not created a flammable ink.
Oh gosh, like a gasoline-based ink or something.
Don't tell him that.
Can never really rule that out.
No.
Who knows? Yeah, something that would Oh man, the friction from your pen would cause it to like light on fire as you write or something.
Oh gosh.
I don't know.
That's next. That's next.
Well, until that happens, we're okay.
Yes.
It's not a hazardous material. You can ship it to your heart's content. So really the only thing you have to worry about is making sure that it's packed well so that it won't break in transit. We've had situations where that's happened before, but we pack rather defensively. Or offensively, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it.
Depending on what you're shipping, sometimes we've run into situations where the box can be packed really tightly, but the bottle inside of the ink box itself might be rattling around. So keep an eye on that. That's something that can trip you up every now and then.
That's true. And if you're packing multiple bottles of ink too, if you have the ink bottles right next to each other, they can clang into each other a little bit. So you want to be careful about that too. So, just make sure you pack it really well, and you should be in good shape.
Definitely.
All right, now we got some business questions, which, Drew, I know you're all about taking care of business.
Let's get down to business.
Where's that from?
Mulan.
Somebody read it. Oh, okay. I never seen Mulan. Never seen it.
I will start singing. I will start singing that thing right now.
I've seen a lot of Disney, but I've never seen Mulan. I've heard it's good though.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially that song. Donny Osmond kicking butt on that song.
Nice. Oh goodness.
Crazy old Donny Osmond.
That's right. So this first question is from Altha C on Facebook. I was wondering about look-alike or knockoff designs in fountain pens, and what were your thoughts on this?
What are your thoughts?
Well, I have some thoughts.
Give them to us,
I thought I'd like to share. That's why I took this question. This is like, this kind of question, whenever I get something like this, I'm always like, ooh.
Let me sink my teeth into this
I'm
one.
always like, ooh, this is a touchy one. It's like I don't grab one of these every single week, but every now and then there's one that I'm like, yeah, this could be one where I'm like walking a line.
Let's jump in.
Something about that just makes me feel like I'm alive, in my own sad way.
Living life on the
as
edge.
a pen guy, but no, seriously though, I mean, this is one of those things where it's not a clearly like black and white issue. There's a lot of gray here, and just to be quite honest, it's tough because if we are honest with ourselves, fountain pens have been around for 150 years. There's only so many things you can do on a pen to make it completely unique and different.
Yeah.
So like there's always going to be some overlap and inspired elements and borrowed technology that's going to happen in pens. You know what I mean? And that kind of thing happens all the time.
But as with any industry, there's a line between inspiration and plagiarism, right?
Exactly. And I think that's what we're talking about here. So, I don't know the exact nature and intent of your question, but I'm going to interpret it as I will. I'll say there's definitely some room for debate here, and I think that's okay.
Well, there's always room for debate.
Yeah. So kind of where I fall with this kind of thing, and you can see this reflected in the products that we carry. Clear knockoffs are not cool. Like literally there's pens on eBay that are being advertised as Mont Blancs or whatever. They have the white star on top. They rip off the trademark logos and stuff, and they try to sell them close to the price, usually discounted because they want to move them quickly, but somewhere near the price, and they just want to get a quick buck.
That's a bummer.
It's just straight up lying. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's lying products.
Yeah.
That's not cool. Everybody is pretty clear on that's not cool. It's very shady and, very clear about that. So that's not awesome. Knockoff designs, though, it gets a little bit cloudier. I'm thinking specifically about pens like the Jinhao 599, which is the one that is clearly heavily influenced by the Lamy Safari.
And that's not a design that you're going to easily be able to draw inspiration from.
Right.
You're going to know.
It's
too
pretty
unique.
obvious,
Yeah.
like the styling of the pen, the shape of it, even the shape of the nib and everything is really close. And you're just like, okay, they very obvious. Like anyone who's in the pen world can look at it and go, okay, they're clearly trying to make something that looks just like that pen.
Yeah.
And part of that's a cultural thing. That's more okay in some countries than others. That's an interpretive kind of thing. Where I kind of come from with that is, how does the original manufacturer, the original designer of that product feel about it?
Yeah, honestly, that's really the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's like, do they feel like they got ripped off or not?
Right.
And of course there's room for interpretation there as well. But like, I know Lamy is not happy about that pen. We're official authorized Lamy reps, and we've talked to them specifically about that pen. And we were like, when it first came out, we were kind of like, hey guys, this really looks like a Safari. What do you think about this? And they were like, yeah, we're not happy about that. And I was like, okay, yeah, clearly that's not a product, you know. I kind of knew that even before I asked.
And if any of the pen companies were authorized retailers have ever asked us to not do something, we'd be like, boom, that's it.
Absolutely.
Okay, enough said.
That makes it very clear for us as far as carrying a product.
Yeah.
What's cool and what's not. But I think even you as a shopper, you can kind of tell. You know,
sure.
you can usually tell. Sometimes, you know, if people are new into the fountain pen world, like this happens a lot. People on Reddit and stuff like that who are just getting into the fountain pen hobby, they see a pen talked about like a very inexpensive pen, because I think that pen's like $6 or $8, $10, something like that. Like it's really cheap.
Yeah,
it's really cheap. So they would look at it and go, oh, this is a really inexpensive pen. I should get into this. And then later on they might find out, oh, this is really kind of a ripoff, but not necessarily the same. It's under their brand, Jinhao. It's clearly mimicked to be like that. So that gets really gray. Some people are cool with it, some people are not. I know that, you know, in talking to Lamy, they're not super happy about that pen. Right. So I'm like, yeah, then that's why we don't carry the $5.99. And you know, I never even really investigated the process of doing that, because we do sell Jinhao too. So it's interesting when we have brands that are kind of overlapping like that. So moving a little bit further, a little bit less dark gray on the spectrum, I guess, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. Or would you be moving towards darker or away, depending on if it's getting less obvious? I don't know.
This isn't a black and white scale.
I'm getting lost in my own
metaphor here. The
metaphor
scale's not simply
here.
black and white.
I'm getting lost in my own metaphor. But think about like pens that are kind of inspired by others. Like I'm thinking about the Jinhao 159 and the Mont Blanc 149.
Yeah, no one's looking at that thing and thinking it's a Mont Blanc.
I mean, it's like clearly it's a large pen, similar in size. It clearly has the overall kind of
I guess if you saw silhouettes of them, maybe.
Yeah, it would be somewhat similar.
Maybe.
But it's like, okay, the Mont Blanc 149, it's a gold nib, piston fill, clearly has like the white star, all the trimmings, you know, precious resin. It's close to $1,000.
Yeah.
It's clearly a whole different league. Yeah. The Jinhao 159, it's $12.50. Stainless steel nib, cartridge converter. It's a metal pen. It's not the same thing.
It's got a big wonky logo on the clip.
Yeah,
I think it's got
like
fewer trim rings around the cap too.
Yeah, and I know that like as far as like trademark designs and stuff, like companies like Mont Blanc have like very specific like patents and trademarks and stuff on certain elements of the design. So there will be other companies that will tweak them. And you know, it's like if you look at like the Sailor King of Pens and like the Sailor 1911 and the Mont Blanc 149, they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like they tweak and change some
that shape
different
of pen
things.
is a popular pen shape.
Absolutely.
You'll see a bunch of pens over cross brands with that shape.
So there is a very fine line there.
Also,
but I think a lot of it comes down to intent.
And if Mont Blanc, you know, was adamant about getting that pen erased from existence, they could probably.
They would do it. They could do it.
They could probably do it.
Yeah, they have done that before in the past. They are not hesitant to you know, exercise their trademark rights, and that's totally fine. But I think it's like far enough away where it's like, okay, they're mimicking some elements of it, but it's not like an outright, you know, copy kind of thing. So, you know, we sell that pen. Literally, very few people have ever brought it up as like, why do you carry this pen? It's clearly a Mont Blanc knockoff.
I was gonna get a Mont Blanc, but I guess I'll get this Jinhao instead.
Right. So
That's
I think like it's the kind of thing, you know, that it's hard to explain, but you know it when you see it, kind of thing. So that's where it's. So we're in that gray area somewhere, you know. And we don't carry a lot of pens like that. You know, there are like companies like Jinhao and Hero and some of these other ones. They have a lot of pens that look like other ones.
Yeah, we're very intentional about that.
So we try to carry the ones that are a little more unique to the Jinhao brand, but that's pretty much where we fall there. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we settle on it. That's what we use as a gauge. And in general, if we just don't feel right about it, we won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But your feedback helps a lot too. You pretty much know. If you're in the pen world a little bit, you pretty much know. All right. This question is from penzealot on Instagram. For the pics on your website and Instagram, the ones that have props like ballet slippers, teacups, shells, etc., do you go out and buy the props or just use whatever is on hand? Well, let me be clear. I don't do squat when it comes to that because
that's all Sarah.
I used to do the photography back in the day, but my props were things like beans.
You did have
like
beans.
Uncooked beans, rice.
You said uncooked beans, like cooked beans would have been an option.
I don't know. I mean, what I think is
picturing a pen laying on top of a bunch of like
baked beans or something. Have like a Noodler's a heb sticking out of like some Franken beans, you know? I don't know.
All right.
No. Yeah. So I don't do any of that stuff anymore. Thankfully, you know, Sarah, our photographer, she's got a tremendous eye for that kind of
She
stuff.
really does.
She's also very thrifty, just in general.
She's got a shelf of all sorts of different props. And
She
like
really
sometimes
does.
she'll reuse the same one, and it's
And
reused
it
in a
looks
way
different,
that,
yeah.
sure, it's reused in a way that looks
It's
completely
incredible.
new. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
So she'll like bring a lot of stuff in just from home because she has a lot of that kind of stuff. She will, you know, go around our office and just find random things that we have around the office and use them as props. She's really good like that. And then we'll intentionally kind of send her out and be like, here's, you know, some money. Just go, you know, her and Jenny and maybe Whitney and like some of the other more, you know, aesthetically minded individuals besides me will intentionally go out and do maybe every couple of months, go out and do a trip purely just to look for props.
She's gone outside and just walked around in the field across the street. Like,
Yeah.
she figures it out. She'll make it work.
She's awesome.
And she'll make it look good.
Yep. So shout out a little bit there to Sarah. She's done a great job there. But that's pretty much how it's done. It's really not a lot of magic to it. She
makes the
has
magic.
she just has an eye for
Yeah.
it. Yeah. All right. Next question. This is from fp.geek on Instagram. Do you see fountain pens ever making a full comeback in the future? A full comeback. So I'm interpreting that to be like, I don't know,
Like people stop using roller
like
balls.
more people use fountain pens than not. Like, I don't know, in the heyday, this is like well before our time here. But I think that back in the day, I'm thinking like 40s and 50s, like right before the ballpoint pen was coming out, like if you carried a pen, it was a fountain pen.
Yeah.
So in most everybody in like
The
you
desk
know,
blotter was a staple of any desk.
yeah, and like most anyone in like, you know, white collar type job would carry around fountain pens. Like that was just, it was a tool.
So that would be the definition of a comeback.
That's what I would
like a
consider.
full
like
comeback,
a
yeah.
commonly, just as common as like gel rollerballs are today.
And could that happen?
No, not a friggin' chance that that would ever happen. Like that's completely unrealistic to think that that would happen.
You know what I was thinking? Like, has that ever happened? Like, has something like come back from like almost being obsolete to ongoing and mainstream?
I can't think of any situation where
can't.
that's ever even come close to happening. You know what I mean? Like
there are things that have come back from almost being obsolete to like, you know, niche,
to like
niche popular.
or like in fashion, or like
Right.
as kind of a throwback or something, but
Right.
never a mainstay. It's not like, oh yeah, everybody's wearing wigs again because, you know,
Powdered wigs?
powdered wigs, yeah.
Ooh.
Why not?
Let's do it.
You know, because like, you know,
You've
no,
got a couple
it's not
followers
gonna
on
happen.
YouTube. I think we could bring this back.
Powdered wigs?
Yeah.
Oh boy. No, I don't think
Think
so.
positive,
Where
bro.
would you even get a powdered wig?
I don't
I don't know,
know.
Drew. Come on.
We don't live too far from Colonial Williamsburg.
That's true. They do have powder. That's probably like the greatest source of powdered wigs today. In like English Parliament, like they still want.
We're so
wigs.
close.
I don't know. You know, I don't know why I went to that example,
Yeah.
but
Well,
you know what I
what's
mean? It's
another
like,
example of like something that?
well, I'm thinking like the typewriter. Like if you really want to talk about like before computers,
right.
The typewriter was like the laptop of its day.
and that can't make a comeback.
It's not gonna make a comeback,
No.
yeah. Or like the abacus, you know, throw that out there because I like to say that word. It's kind of fun. But like
I haven't said the word abacus.
nobody's
today.
using abacus. I mean, okay, very few people. There's like a few like kids in China that would be taught on abacuses and stuff like that. And it's actually pretty impressive. You go on YouTube and
That's
look
very
at like
impressive.
kids using abacuses to do math. But no, people are using calculators or whatever now. And it's I think that the fountain pen as a utilitarian tool. I'm talking like it's the best technological tool
The best
for
choice.
communication. Has had its heyday and it's never going back. Never going back.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's okay. But I still think that it obviously has its purpose. You know, I actually like the fact that it's a niche product. And I've always said this because the fact that it's not required, or the fact that it's not a this like utility tool, or no, that's not the right way to say it. The fact that it's not what's the right way to say it? My words are failing me right now.
A necessity.
Yeah, like a necessity to use on a daily basis for the common
Like
the
what?
common
Like,
person.
what else would be an example of that?
That's a good question. What do people use these days? I don't know, even pens in general. I'm thinking like are not
Like paper
necessarily
towels,
so much.
or
I guess like
because I mean you gotta have those, but no
like-
no one gets excited about.
I don't know,
them.
like tissues.
Yeah.
Like, do you get really pumped about tissues. Like, it's a commodity. Commodity, that's the word I was trying to think of.
Commodity.
Fountain pens are not a commodity anymore. There you
Right,
go. So
right.
the fact that they're not a commodity means that the only people that are using fountain pens today are those who want to use them.
Right.
So there's like a barrier to cross there.
You don't get
into fountain
super
pens.
passionate about puffs.
Right. Some people might. I don't know. I'm sure there's, a special interest group out there that really likes particular.
I like to go
types
to
of tissues
I
or
like to go to
something.
puffs instead of Kleenex because everybody says Kleenex.
I was going to say, yeah.
Nobody gives puffs any love.
Yeah, I was
Like,
going to say.
hand me a Kleenex. Well, this happens to be a puffs
Oh, there's lots of things that
or
can
a puff. I don't know.
lots of things that can puff. So I mean, it's not as quite as a specific term.
Right.
Like,
But no. The important thing is like no one gets excited about it, and we like the fact that people
Yeah.
can tap into that passion
Absolutely.
for fountain pens.
I think that there is plenty of room in the world to have technological tools of communication and fountain pens.
Let me tell you, from a customer service standpoint, that means we get to deal with some really nice people that are just super excited about the products we're carrying, and they're not just like, oh, I gotta buy another fountain pen, darn it. They're like, I
Right.
want to buy another fountain pen. We're like, yes, we want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. Toilet paper would be another good example too. That just
No
came
one's
to
passionate
mind.
about toilet paper.
Yeah, when you go to toilet paper, are you like watching hour-long Q&A videos about toilet paper?
Or like checking,
No.
checking the release dates of new toilet paper.
Right. No one's doing that. No one's doing that. But that's what you get with a niche community like this.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm, the passion, and all that. So, no, I don't think it's ever going to make anything close to a full comeback. But I will say that I think that there's still a lot of room for growth in the
Oh, yeah.
fountain pen world.
That's true. That's a good point.
And we are very much driving towards that. I think there's a lot of value that fountain pens can add to people's lives. I just think it looks differently than it did in its heyday. So I think the level of appreciation that people have for the fountain pen will ultimately be greater than it was when it was in its heyday.
Ooh.
Because it was purely commodity. It was like, and that's why as soon as the ballpoint came out, so many people switched because they didn't want to be using a fountain pen. They just wanted to write something, and that was the only tool that they could do it with. So when something slightly more convenient came out, they switched hardcore. But despite the fact that these things have been technologically, obsolete for the last 60 years, they're still around and now growing. So I think that's pretty cool.
More so than the typewriter.
I don't know. There's people that are into typewriters too.
Oh. I guess I'm biased.
Probably. More so than the abacus, maybe.
Yes.
Let's say that.
We've got the abacus beat, folks.
We're going to have like people that are super into abacuses that like write complaints about us. That'd be kind of cool. Either that or somebody will like mail in an abacus to me and I'll like have a little desk abacus.
Then you would
or
have to put it
something.
back there.
I would.
You know
I would
you
do
would.
that. I would do that. That's
You
a
have
challenge.
no choice.
But it's got to be small. So if you get one, get a small one. I'm just kidding. All right. This next question is from Dalton C on Facebook. Recently, I've been thinking about the rewards program idea. While I disagree with the general idea, since you offer prices much lower than other places, especially brick and mortar stores, a tangent of it does interest me, the infamous referral program. Do you feel that rewarding loyal Goulet customers who actively expand the fountain pen community and follow the GPC mission statement yourselves, thank you, is more in line with something you would consider, or is this just as distasteful as simply providing a lower price to people who buy more? So, I've talked about like discounting and stuff. I know Drew's like, I don't want to answer this. I picked a great Q&A for you to come in here.
Yeah, no, tell me. I'm curious. This is a good question.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to like discounting and all that kind of stuff, it's not a matter of distasteful. Like, there's a distasteful way to do everything. It's purely a matter of like which approach you want to take towards running your business, or what type of customer you want to serve in which way. So let me be clear about the fact that I don't think that discounting in general is distasteful. I think there are tactful ways to go about it, and I think there's trade-offs in terms of quality and service and so on, depending on if you want to drop your price. So that's part of it. But for me, I don't like to discount as a forefront marketing strategy. We do discount our pens off the MSRP. That is true. Part of that is the competitiveness of the market. We charge according to what we need to based on what is available in the marketplace. So yes, there are other places like, certain brick and mortar stores charge a little bit more. I completely understand why, because when you have someone face to face, it just takes more time and interaction than it does selling online like this. So there's an element there. And we're not trying to undercut brick and mortars by any means. It's purely a matter of...
We'd have to do the same thing if we had a brick and mortar store.
Absolutely. That's a much larger thing just beyond the fountain pen world. Brick and mortar and online, even like Walmart and like other companies are having to like compete with their own online stores and stuff. It's a really interesting time in commerce in general right now for retail. But anyway, I digress. So what you're talking about here specifically, Dalton, is a referral program, and we rely heavily on referrals, like good positive word of mouth, social media engagement, sharing, and getting your friends and people that you know into fountain pens. So absolutely, that is something that we value. It gets tricky what you're talking about here, a referral program. So you're talking about basically getting paid or some kind of discount or coupon or reward of some kind for bringing people to us specifically, our site. So us, as Goulet Pens, we would give you some kind of, quid pro quo for sending people to us. So yes, in theory, that concept would seem to work. It can work in some businesses, and in other ones it's really tough. Like as a very personal example, my dad actually, I worked with him for a couple of years right out of college, but he still runs a home power washing business. So he, washes off the mold off people's houses and so on. That is not a service that you get done every month. It's every few years, and it's all based on locality, and it's all based on like neighbors referring each other and stuff like that. So he relies heavily on referrals, but it's very difficult for him to build up a lot of brand equity because his service is somewhat more commoditized. People are not watching hour-long Q&As about house power washing. It's a service that when people need it done, they just kind of need it done. They'll ask their neighbors, hey, I need somebody to wash my house. Who do you know? That it's all referrals there.
Right.
So he gives a referral incentive for that. He's got a much higher dollar per order than we do. So I think there's a big factor there. It's like how often is someone needing to buy? What's the commitment cost? I think of like if you're to continue with like home stuff, like if you have a realtor or getting landscaping done or getting your siding replaced or something like that, a lot of those companies tend to use referral programs a lot more heavily because that's kind of how it's done. It's a little bit more commoditized service, so it's somewhat harder to distinguish yourself and build up good brand equity as a company, so they rely heavily on referrals and they're likely more incentivized to provide referrals. With us, it's a little bit different though. You know what I mean? Like
we've honestly got a lot more opportunities than a company like that.
We do in some ways, but it's different too because, I think it's a matter of trade-offs. Like we only have so much margin to work with in our company, and so there's different approaches that we can take towards our marketing. And essentially, if you're talking about referral programs, you're talking about that's a marketing expense. Right. So you only have but so much to spend on marketing. So do we spend that on content production? Yeah. Do we spend that on engagement on our social platforms, and to an element our customer care team as well? There's an element of marketing there in the service that we provide. Do we put our efforts there, or do we do something like discounting, or do we do something like referral programs and so on? The difficult thing that I have about the whole referral thing is it's not as clear and obvious when a referral has been made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that can be tricky.
Like think about it. We got like thousands of people who are talking to other people, who bought from us before. They're talking to other people. It's not like we can like give customized like discount coupon codes or something like that so that we know exactly when someone you've referred purchases.
And like how much time could have elapsed as well.
Right.
Like, that's another weird.
Yeah, and like the way that it ends up working, especially in a niche community like this, is it's usually like, oh, someone tells you about it, or like you might tell somebody about this video that you're seeing. They'll come and watch this video, and then they'll click on our site, and then they'll do all these other things, look at us on Fountain Pen Network and all that stuff, and at some point, they'll then intend to buy. But how do we tie that to that direct referral? That's always a challenge when you're talking about a referral incentive program. So we would need to have a lot of like surety about the fact that that referral happened because of them. And then even still, we have a very kind of like smaller, average order size, if you will, than say a house contractor or something like that. So there's just not as much margin there to share for a referral. And even then it's like, okay, if somebody comes in and buys a $20 order, there's really no margin there. Like, we lose money on smaller orders to a degree, actually. Yeah. So I mean, like, somebody could come in and buy a $1 order. Yeah. A pack of O-rings or something like that, and it's there's just not much there. So it gets really difficult to value that. But that's kind of a logistical side of things. But I actually want to expand your brain a little bit, because as I was thinking
that's
through
not what
this,
you just did.
Well, I'm about to do it some more. So that's right. Drew gets this first-hand experience here with the Q&A. So there's this concept called the over-justification effect. It's on Wikipedia. Go look it up.
No.
The over-justification effect. So essentially, what the concept of the over-justification effect is that if you are doing something out of your kind of intrinsic goodwill, such as referring a friend to a place that you really appreciate. You watch these videos, whatever, you like fountain pens, you're getting your friend into the fountain pen hobby, you refer them to said place.
I feel good about that.
You feel good about that.
I do.
The over-justification effect is saying that if you start getting paid for that, it'll actually lower your intrinsic value.
I will lose that warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, because now it somehow cheapens the feel.
Don't like that.
Because you're getting paid for it. Now, obviously, to a degree, it would matter how much money it is, and there's circumstantial things, but they've done a variety of studies to show, particularly in like donation and nonprofit and like stuff like that, where it relies heavily on just the feel-good factor, that when they start introducing money into it, it actually decreases the level of donations or volunteering or whatever it might be.
Thus decreasing the motivation to do it.
To actually do it. Yeah, It can actually cause more harm than good to start doing a referral program. So that's not, not saying like we're not a nonprofit or anything like that.
Right.
But I think there is an intrinsic value of when you have a really good experience at a store, or really anywhere, you see a really good movie, you eat at a good restaurant. If you have your favorite restaurant that you go to and the owner and you get treated really well there, if all of a sudden they started paying you for each friend that you brought in, it would change the way that
you couldn't be sure if you're doing it out of your own.
Yeah, it would change your own motives about doing it. So it can actually have a harmful effect on it. So that's a little psychological kind of stuff to kind of throw in the mix there. Get you something to think about there, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But even still, I think that literally was something I was like, I think I've heard of something like this.
That's a thing.
I had to go like search a bunch of things, and I was like, over-justification effect. That's what it's called. But no, that wasn't like where I originally started it. Honestly, a lot of it's been the logistics. But for me, I think from the very, very beginning, to kind of wrap this whole concept up, the very beginning of founding this company, it was built upon, I'm going to add value first and then hope that you reward me by shopping with me and telling your friends about me. And that's the approach that I'm going to take. So rather than, I'm going to keep my money, and if you send more people my way, I'll give you some of my money. That's essentially what a referral program is. I'm saying instead, here are some awesome pictures, here's our great website, here are these great online tools that we've built, here is great customer service that you can call and email.
And honestly, you can ask about a pen we don't carry, and we'll try.
We'll do our best.
It won't be as good, but we're not going to say no. Sorry, we only care about your sales. So
absolutely,
we'll try. We'll always do our best.
Yeah, and we don't have a counter that says, this customer has spent a certain amount of money, so you can only talk to them on the phone for 23 minutes. Otherwise, you got to cut it off. There's nothing like that. It's a lot of it's built on goodwill. So we have always focused on, we're going to dump so much value on you up front so that it really won't even be like an issue of like you're not feeling good about sending somebody our way, because and I think that we've proven that over the last 7 years by how quickly we've grown and how many people we've served and the size of our social media followings and stuff like that, that's really paid off for us as a company, just as a marketing kind of strategic approach. Now it has taken a ton of effort and goodwill and research, and I mean, we research the living daylights out of stuff.
Yes.
We spend a lot of time on
things,
researching stuff like that. You do as well. Don't say they.
I'm just saying, you guys absolutely have built a business on goodwill and trust, and I think this goes along with that.
Yeah. So that's where we come from. Is I don't want to deal with nitpicking and spending all my time trying to track down who's referred, who, when, where, and what. I would rather just be like, look, we're going to add a ton of value. If you think it's good, please share it out, and we'll keep adding more value. That's kind of where we're at. So,
if you think it's bad, tell us, and we'll make it good.
Exactly. It's been working for 7 years, and I plan to keep it up. So there you go. But hopefully that doesn't, it's not like a cop-out answer of like, well, I just don't want to share my referral kind of stuff.
No, I think that was a hefty one, but it makes sense.
It was. I like to get into these business questions. All right, last one for this week. Excuse me. This is from Gail Gabe on Instagram. Since Goulet Pens is a pretty established online store, would you ever consider crossing over into the app world and creating a Goulet Pens app so that customers have that as a purchasing resource
like
option?
A game featuring you going down pipes and stomping on turtles.
That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
I mean, that's what they're talking about, right?
I mean, yeah, I would say so, right?
I can't think of any other
Of course,
app
that's
that
like
would
what
be
all
useful
businesses
for
are doing, right? No, so I'm thinking more like an Angry Birds type thing where you have like a LeBron head that you shoot and stuff like that, or you fling fountain pens or something. I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure they mean like a shopping app,
Which would be
or like
super
something
cool,
like
yeah.
that. I mean, I don't know. I use a couple of shopping apps. I use like, Home Depot and stuff. I have a house. I have to fix it all the time. I have like a Home Depot app that I use.
I'm all about the Dunkin' Donuts app.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What do you like about the Dunkin' Donuts app?
You get points.
Okay.
They give you free coffee on your birthday.
Okay.
Which is nice. Free coffee anytime is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would be cool. Would we ever have an app, Brian?
I think that the world is going mobile. We don't have any plans in 2016 to do an app. I can say that right now. So we have, we're coming up on our holiday season. We got a lot going on. But I will say, definitely, Rachel and I have talked about it. And I think we're getting to the point where it's starting to become an option. It's expensive. It's expensive to develop and then maintain an app. It's not just the development cost. It's actually costs more. We've priced it out. It costs more in the ongoing maintenance of the app than it does in the initial development.
Really?
Yeah, because there's so many like phone versions and updates and bug fixes and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it costs like 2.5 times annually.
I guess that makes sense. I just hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah. So we don't have like our own in-house developer. So this is something we've kind of sourced out. But that's something we're very open to. And I think that eventually is going to happen because the world is going more mobile. I mean, that is just a trend that we've been seeing the last several years.
Rachel could probably figure it out if there are 30 hours in the day. Wouldn't take her long. Maybe.
She is kind of a wizard. Wizardess. Wizardess? Is that a word? Wizard. What's a female wizard?
Let's not apply gender to the wizard. The wizard can be whatever he or she wants to be.
Fair enough. Comments on YouTube if you know what a female wizard is called. No, I think that that's definitely something that we would like to do. Obviously tying something into our store to make it a better shopping experience on the phone especially. But then I could see like having our comparison tools, like online tools and stuff like that on there, because we don't currently have that on the mobile site.
That'd be cool.
That would be very cool. And I could see like having some other stuff integrated, which I won't share because I have some cool ideas, but I have some like pretty mind-blowing stuff that I think we could build into it. Possibly. It's difficult though. I mean, you can do anything you want if you have enough time and money when it comes to these business things. So that's what I've discovered as we get bigger is everything costs a lot more money than you think. So that's kind of where we're at. So I think we're at the point where, an app is a viable option. So I'll be honest, this was a very loaded question that I wanted to take that's going to segue nicely into the question of the week, because I would love some intel from you all about what you would find value in a Goulet Pens app, or just a pen app, a fountain pen app in general. What are some of the things that you would think would just really be great ideas to incorporate into that? Obviously making shopping easier, that's pretty obvious one. But any type of like other tools or things that would help you either like in doing research or maintaining your pens or keeping a catalogs of your inks or whatever it is. I'd be very curious to know.
I want like instead of Siri, it to just be Brian, so I can just be like, Brian, is this number 6? Or and just be like,
you could ask me to beatbox and I could do it.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Oh, you don't have an iPhone, do you?
Droid man.
Okay, Drew's a droid man, but you can, for those of you out there, this is a little bonus feature for you. You can actually ask Siri to beatbox for you. I feel like I should do that right now. Hope that's not like copyright infringement or something. Hang on.
What are they going to do in their spare time?
Okay. Siri, can you beatbox for me?
I didn't quite get that.
Whoops. All right, we're going to try it again. Siri, can you beatbox for me?
Here's one. I've been practicing boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. I could do this all day. Cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots.
Does she actually do that all day? Okay,
No,
no,
that's
she
it.
doesn't. Okay.
That's fun.
Boots and cats.
I can see doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what we'd love to know. Question of the week. Drew, thank you so much for joining me
You're
today.
welcome. It was a
lot of
blast.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad. It was good.
Thank you.
It was good. I hope you all
you.
liked it too. If you guys like Drew and you want him to come back, then just let me know in the comments. And let him know if he did anything particularly funny.
Or annoying.
Or annoying.
And I'll
ideally
do more
funny.
of it.
Oh no. It could be a good inside joke. We have a lot of inside jokes around here.
Yeah, it took
go
us a
back
while
a
to actually
ways.
get this thing going.
did.
We wouldn't shut up.
It's kind of true.
Sorry about the waffle conversation.
Yes, that's quite all right. I think everybody will forgive us for
And the
that.
beans and the pens.
Yeah.
That was really funny though.
It's all good. That's going to be the things that people are going to
That's-
remember out of this Q&A is what's going to happen. They're going to forget all the questions, but they're going to remember baked beans. You know, a pen and baked beans. Somebody will put a meme together or something and see that. That'd be pretty motivating.
Do it.
Cool. All right, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed this. Check out GouletPens.com. You can see a lot of the products that we talked about. Didn't talk about a lot of products, but you can see some of the specifics that we talked about. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever, all the other channels that we're on. It's a lot of them. And go ahead and, give a shout out to Drew. Next time you email us at info@gouletpens.com or talk to somebody on his team.
They're all
because,
awesome.
They're all awesome, and Drew helps them out every day. So Drew helps make the magic happen here at Goulet. So that's about it. Thanks everybody, and bye now.